In this video, I thought we'd try to go over the differences between a stamped sheet metal receiver and a milled receiver on the AKM or Kalashnikov style rifle. So to begin with, let's take a look at these two. This one is a Lancaster AK made here in Arizona, and this is sort of a parts gun. Then we've got a milled receiver example that's an Arsenal SAM-7R. This one is made in Bulgaria and then modified here in Las Vegas and sold as a factory style rifle. So we've got a milled receiver on this one, which means that it started with a solid block of metal. This hole was drilled, this cutout was put in, that hole was drilled for this pivot, those two holes were drilled, this little pin, a hole was drilled and it was inserted. We'll take a look on the internals here. On this side, all these engravings were scribbled into the block of steel. This cutout was made to make it a little lighter weight. This Soviet optics rail was installed on the side. Holes were drilled again for those. As far as the stock, a hole is drilled this way. So imagine this is a solid bar of steel that's drilled and milled out to the shape that it needs to be. Now, on the other hand, this one is a flat piece of metal that has been folded into a metal taco. If I looked at it down this way, it would look like a metal taco. It's had holes drilled out, a couple of indentions put into it, a hole cut out on the bottom, but because of the shape of the taco, this stuff inserts in the front, no problem, this stuff inserts in the back. Let's take a look inside and see some other examples of the differences between these two. Now, I should mention there are some similarities, of course. They both make a AK Kalashnikov style rifle work, and neither one of them is really better or worse than the other. People have their preferences, though. The milled receivers tend to be heavier, of course. They tend to retain their heat, of course. They tend to be more rigid. So does that make it a more accurate rifle? Some enthusiasts would suggest that. Let's take a look at some of the more detailed construction on the inside. Again, we had a solid piece of steel, and all of these cuts and shapes were milled from it or cut from it, and we can see that's fairly substantial. It's not exactly this thick all the way down, but this was, again, one solid piece of steel. And typically when you extrude metal to get a solid piece, you're getting rid of any bubbles or imperfections. Now when you start with a flat piece and fold it, you can see that it does look a lot weaker. It looks a lot flimsier, I guess, potentially. Without holding them, you might think that this one's flimsier, but obviously this isn't a fragile gun. This is a very sturdy design. The component system that you create by taking these various components and putting them together in a specific way creates a very strong system. This one can be repaired. If this part was broken, you really needed to, you could remove those rivets and swap out that part. You can do similar things on the milled, but not as easily. As far as the similarities, they both use the same pistol grips, they both use the same trigger, they both probably use the same safety as far as I know. They can use the same carrier. So I'll take this unfired, milled gun, I'll take its bolt carrier here and drop it into this stamped gun. And you can see that it operates and it functions. However, you don't want to ever do this on an AK. That head spacing is unique between the bolt face and the chamber. And even though the parts fit, some of the parts fit, not all the parts are actually fitting. So while it'll go forward and engage the lugs, no idea if that's head spaced or not. And you'd want to use some testing to do that to find out. But the pieces do technically fit together. You can see they're not a perfect match, hung up a little bit there. And again, that's just the very simple differences. But overall, these two parts are exactly the same. There's no trunnion on the milled receiver, so that's a little different. Barrels are different. But as far as other components, of course, once you don't touch the receiver, it's not such a big deal. Another difference between stamped and milled will be the dust covers, and I'm not sure how well it'll show up on video, but the steels here are different thicknesses. For whatever reason, I guess in the beginning the AK47s had the smooth dust cover, a little bit more substantial, a little stronger. Kind of tell from tapping them there. The stamped one has these reinforcing ridges because it's like they took away some of they used a thinner steel, so in order to retain rigidity. They've added those little lumps there. Very many similarities, and there's quite a few differences. The biggest differences, of course, being the weight, cost. Milled receivers are typically more expensive, and heat. The less metal means less heat retained. More metal means potentially more heat gained. It also means potentially a stronger, more solid construction. So I'm not sure if this answered every question, but if you do have any more, leave them in the comments below. We hope you enjoy videos like this, and as always, thanks for watching.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.